Enjoy English learning.
The first part of the day. Morning. Example. I wake up early in the morning. The first light of the day. Dawn. Example. The sky looks beautiful at dawn. A platform outside a building. Balcony. Example. The view from the balcony was amazing. Something that can be heard. Audible. Example. His voice was not audible. The plants of a particular area. Flora. Example. The forest has rich flora. The animals of a particular region. Fauna. Example. The fauna of Africa is unique. A place where historical objects are kept. Museum. Example. The museum has ancient paintings. A place where animals are kept for public viewing. Zoo. Example. The zoo was full of visitors. To call someone officially. Summon. Example. He was summoned to the office. A formal request. Petition. Example. A petition was filed in court. A list of food items available at a restaurant. Menu. Example. The menu has many options. A person who serves food in a restaurant. Waiter. Example. The waiter brought our food. A person who cannot hear. Deaf. Example. He is deaf from birth. A person who cannot walk properly. Lame. Example. He became lame after the accident. Great enthusiasm for something. Zeal. Example. His zeal for learning is inspiring. A person who does office work. Clerk. Example. He is a bank clerk. A person who manages financial records. Accountant. Example. The accountant prepared the budget. A person who prefers to be alone. Introvert. Example. She is an introvert. A person who enjoys being social. Extrovert. Example. He is an extrovert. A person who works without pay. Volunteer. Example. She is a volunteer at the hospital. A large enclosure for birds. Aviary. Example. Birds fly freely in the aviary. Related to money and business. Economic. Example. The country is facing an economic crisis. Happening once a year. Annual. Example. The school has an annual function. Happening every 6 months. Half-yearly. Example. We have a half-yearly exam. A place where alcoholic drinks are served. Bar. Example. The bar was crowded last night. To give official permission. Authorize. Example. The manager authorized the payment. A group of people who decide legal cases. Jury. Example. The jury found him guilty. The condition of the atmosphere. Weather. Example. The weather changes quickly. A meeting to ask and answer questions. Interview. Example. The interview went well. A detailed examination of facts. Investigation. Example. The investigation took weeks. A new creation or discovery. Invention. Example. His invention changed the world. A place for scientific experiments. Laboratory. Example. The laboratory is full of equipment. A child without parents. Orphan. Example. The orphan was adopted. Strong will to achieve something. Determination. Example. Her determination led to success. A way of standing or sitting. Pose. Example. She struck a perfect pose for the photo. A person greatly admired. Idol. Example. Youngsters see him as an idol. A place where dead bodies are kept. Morgue. Example. The body was sent to the morgue. A system where people elect their leaders. Democracy. Example. Democracy gives people power. A system where one person has total control. Autocracy. Example. The country was under autocracy. A system where a king or queen rules. Monarchy. Example. Monarchy existed for centuries. A place for Christian worship. Church. Example. The church was beautifully decorated. A person who creates art. Artist. Example. He is a talented artist. A person kept as a prisoner. Captive. Example. The enemy kept him captive. A person who always expects good things. Optimistic. Example. She is optimistic about her future. A person addicted to alcohol. Alcoholic. Example. He is an alcoholic. A person dependent on something harmful. Addict. Example. He is a drug addict. To announce something officially. Declare. Example. They declared a holiday. A tank or place where fish are kept. Aquarium. Example. The aquarium has colorful fish. The study of living things and their environment. Ecology. Example. Ecology focuses on nature. The study of living organisms. Biology. Example. Biology explains how life works. A group of performers. Troupe. Example. The dance troupe performed well. Something that can cause harm. Dangerous. Example. The road is dangerous at night. A person whose job is teaching. Teacher. Example. She is a teacher. A person or company that delivers packages. Courier. Example. The courier arrived on time. A very foolish person. Idiot. Example. Don't be an idiot, think first. A place where young children are cared for. Nursery. Example. The nursery has colorful walls. A place for relaxation and vacation. Resort. Example. The resort has a swimming pool. Very intelligent or impressive. Brilliant. Example. His idea was brilliant. The movement of people or animals from one place to another. Migration. Example. The country saw mass migration last year. A dead body. Corpse. Example. The corpse was taken for autopsy. A strong, unhealthy interest in something. Obsession. Example. His obsession with work is unhealthy. Something unbelievable or amazing. Incredible. Example. The view was incredible. A person who uses violence for political reasons. Terrorist. Example. Terrorists attack innocent people. A person who makes people laugh. Comedian. Example. The comedian performed well. A raised area for people to stand on. Platform. Example. The train arrived at platform 5. Related to right and wrong behavior. Moral. Example. The story teaches a moral lesson. Something that is wrong or unethical. Immoral. Example. Cheating is immoral. The words of a song. Lyric. Example. The lyrics are meaningful. Something that catches fire easily. Inflammable. Example. Petrol is inflammable. The outer layer removed from fruits or vegetables. Peelings. Example. The peelings were used as compost. The hard outer layer of something. Crust. Example. The earth has a solid crust. To give an order. Command. Example. The officer gave a command. Official forgiveness for an offense. Pardon. Example. The president granted a pardon. A person responsible for managing something. Trustee. Example. The trustee handled the funds well. Extremely cruel or violent. Brutal. Example. The attack was brutal. Very bad or unpleasant. Horrible. Example. The weather is horrible today. Lacking money or resources. Poor. Example. They are helping poor people. A study of knowledge and life. Philosophy. Example. He studies philosophy in college. A medical procedure or planned activity. Operation. Shadow. The operation was successful. A place where food is prepared. Kitchen. Example. The kitchen is clean. A foreign person or being. Alien. Example. He met an alien from another country. A place that provides protection. Shelter. Example. The homeless man found shelter. A nation with its own government. Country. Example. He traveled to another country. A person who buys goods or services. Customer. Example. The customer paid in cash. Something passed down from the past. Legacy. Example. The king left a rich legacy. Money paid after divorce for financial support. Alimony. Example. He pays alimony to his ex-wife. The legal end of a marriage. Divorce. Example. Divorce rates are increasing. A mountain that erupts lava. Volcano. Example. Smoke was coming out of the volcano. A small flowing body of water. Stream. Example. A stream runs through the village. A road built to avoid traffic. Bypass. Example. Take the bypass to avoid congestion. Person who commits a crime. Criminal. Example. The criminal was arrested. A written record of information. Document. Example. The document contains important details. A contract for renting property. Lease. Example. They signed a 1-year lease. A bill for goods or services. Invoice. Example. He received an invoice for the order. Related to faith or worship. Religious. Example. He follows religious traditions. Difficult to understand. Confusing. Example. His instructions were confusing. Speed of movement. Pace. Example. The pace of the game was fast. Speed in a specific direction. Velocity. Example. The car's velocity increased. A small storage area for food. Pantry. Example. The pantry is full of snacks. The crime of breaking into a place to steal. Burglary. Example. He was arrested for burglary. A plan of activities. Schedule. Example. My schedule is busy today. A list of planned topics. Agenda. Example. The meeting agenda is ready. A detailed proposal for action. Plan. Example. They made a plan for the trip. Not related to religion. Secular. Example. The country follows a secular system. Intense fear or shock. Horror. Example. The story was full of horror. An extreme fear of something. Phobia. Example. His phobia of water is serious. An agreement where both sides adjust. Compromise. Example. A good relationship needs compromise. A set of official rules. Protocol. Example. He followed the safety protocol. Unfair treatment of people. Discrimination. Example. Discrimination should not exist in society. Able to spread from one person to another. Infectious. Example. His enthusiasm is infectious. A rapid spread of disease. Epidemic. Example. The flu epidemic affected many. The study of past events. History. Example. History teaches us valuable lessons. A story, often fictional. Tale. Example. He told an interesting tale. Able to bend or adapt easily. Flexible. Example. This material is very flexible. To stop something before completion. Abort. Example. The mission was aborted. Glasses for vision. Spectacles. Example. He wears spectacles while reading. A sample for testing or studying. Specimen. Example. The museum has rare specimens. The process of voting for leaders. Election. Example. The election is next month. Being liked by many people. Popularity. Example. Her book is rising in popularity. Early release of a prisoner with conditions. Parole. Example. He was granted parole. Easily affected or emotional. Sensitive. Example. She has sensitive skin. The hottest season of the year. Summer. Example. Summer starts in June. The coldest season of the year. Winter. Example. Winter is my favorite season. A dry, barren land with little rain. Desert. Example. The Sahara is a desert. A long period without rain. Drought. Example. Drought affects agriculture. Converting text from one language to another. Translation. Example. I need a translation of this word. A reward for winning. Prize. Example. The first prize is a car. A valuable old object. Antique. Example. This vase is an antique. A person who paints. Painter. Example. The painter finished the portrait. A person who creates art. Artist. Example. She is a famous artist. A person who designs buildings. Architect. Example. The architect designed the house. Related to a nation. National. Example. The national flag is important. A person who receives professional services. Client. Example. The lawyer met his client. A brother or sister. Sibling. Example. She is my younger sibling. An official document proving something. Certificate. Example. He lost his birth certificate. A legal permit to do something. License. Example. He has a driving license. A person who always expects the worst. Pessimist. Example. Don't be such a pessimist. A place where goods are sold. Store. Example. The store closes at 9 p.m. The act of shutting down something. Closure. Example. The road is under closure. The sun and all planets around it. Solar system. Example. Earth is part of the solar system. Allowing light to pass through clearly. Transparent. Example. The glass is transparent. Lasting for a short time. Temporary. Example. The job is temporary. A large group of people. Crowd. Example. The crowd cheered loudly. A collection of people or things. Pack. Example. He bought a pack of cards. Between different countries. International. Example. The international meeting was held in Paris. Common to all people or things. Universal. Example. Love is a universal emotion. Money demanded for a kidnapped person. Ransom. Example. The criminals asked for a ransom. A punishment for breaking a rule. Penalty. Example. He paid a penalty for speeding. Qualified to do something. Eligible. Example. He is eligible for the scholarship. Appropriate for a purpose. Suitable. Example. He found a suitable job. Worth a lot of money or importance. Valuable. Example. Time is a valuable resource. Free from control. Independent. Example. She is an independent woman. A small six-legged animal. Insect. Example. The garden has many insects. A person responsible for a crime. Culprit. Example. The police caught the culprit. The process of building something. Construction. Example. Construction work is noisy. A person skilled in a field. Expert. Example. We need an expert opinion. Fierce, violent, or cruel. Savage. Example. The lion is a savage hunter. A remedy for a disease. Cure. Example. There is no cure for the common cold. A book of maps. Atlas. Example. The atlas contains world maps. Faithfulness to a person or cause. Loyalty. Example. Loyalty is important in friendship. The quality of being truthful. Honesty. Example. Honesty is the best policy. Enough for a purpose. Sufficient. Example. We have sufficient food for the trip. Very tasty. Delicious. Example. The cake was delicious. Very appetizing food. Mouth-watering. Example. The dessert was mouth-watering. The measure of heat or cold. Temperature. Example. The temperature is rising today. A basin for washing dishes. Sink. Example. The sink is full of dirty dishes. A place where sick people are treated. Hospital. Example. He went to the hospital for treatment. Friendly and generous treatment of guests. Hospitality. Example. Their hospitality was warm. To bite food into smaller pieces. Chew. Example. Please chew your food slowly. Not natural, made by humans. Artificial. Example. She bought artificial flowers. Lacking strength. Weak. Example. The bridge is too weak to cross. Small in size are not fat. Thin. Example. She is very thin. Opposite of thin, having a large size. Thick. Example. The walls are thick. Not soft, difficult to break. Hard. Example. This question is hard. A bad character in a story. Villain. Example. The villain escaped in the movie. The strength to do physical or mental activities. Energy. Example. The sun gives us energy. A person who eats too much. Glutton. Example. He is a glutton at parties. Looking at goods without buying them. Window shopping. Example. They went window shopping at the mall. A tank where fish are kept. Aquarium. Example. The aquarium has colorful fish. A medicine that works against poison. Antidote. Example. The doctor gave him an antidote. A substance that prevents infection. Antiseptic. Example. Apply antiseptic on the wound. A container for holding liquids. Vessel. Example. The water is in the vessel. A set of rooms forming a residence. Apartment. Example. She lives in a small apartment. A sum of money given as a tip or reward. Gratuity. Example. The waiter received a gratuity for his service. Something given willingly without payment. Gift. Example. He gave her a gift on her birthday. A regular payment made to retired employees. Pension. Example. My grandfather gets a pension every month. Money that is owed and should have been paid earlier. Arrears. Example. He paid his rent arrears last week. A small room or space for storing things. Closet. Example. She keeps her clothes in the closet. A sliding compartment in furniture. Drawer. Example. The keys are in the drawer. A large cupboard for storing clothes. Wardrobe. Example. His wardrobe is full of suits. Able to speak a language easily. Fluent. Example. She is fluent in English. A disease or condition that can be treated. Curable. Example. This illness is curable with proper treatment. A table or structure used for religious purposes. Altar. Example. The priest stood near the altar. Difficult to understand or explain. Mysterious. Example. He disappeared in a mysterious way. A written legal statement sworn to be true. Affidavit. Example. He signed an affidavit in court. A document that can be used instead of money. Voucher. Example. Use this voucher to get a discount. A wild animal's resting place. Lair. Example. The lion returned to its lair. Unwilling to change one's opinion. Stubborn. Example. She is too stubborn to apologize. A person who studies and learns deeply. Scholar. Example. He is a scholar in history. Innocent and inexperienced. Naive. Example. She is too naive to understand their tricks. Formal welcome event. Reception. Example. They attended the wedding reception. A live music performance. Concert. Example. We enjoyed the BTS concert. To press something tightly between fingers. Pinch. Example. She gave me a pinch on my arm. Favoritism shown to relatives. Nepotism. Example. His uncle's nepotism helped him get the job. Wanting more than needed. Greedy. Example. The greedy man took all the food. A short sleep during the day. Nap. Example. He took a nap in the afternoon. A deep unconscious state. Coma. Example. He was in a coma for 2 months. A person who settles a dispute. Arbiter. Example. The judge acted as an arbiter in the case. Cold-blooded animals like snakes and lizards. Reptiles. Example. The zoo has many reptiles. A place where vehicles are parked. Parking. Example. The parking lot is full. A large building for storing aircraft. Hangar. Example. The plane was kept in the hangar. Having an even and soft surface. Smooth. Example. This table is smooth. Making little or no noise. Quiet. Example. The library is very quiet. Making a lot of noise. Noisy. Example. The kids were too noisy. Fair and logical. Reasonable. Example. The price is reasonable. Behaving in a forceful way. Aggressive. Example. The dog became aggressive. A thin, flat piece of something. Slice. Example. She ate a slice of cake. A continuous, slight shaking movement. Vibration. Example. I felt a vibration on the floor. A very intense fire. Firestorm. Example. The forest firestorm spread rapidly. A building with a high fire risk. Fire trap. Example. That old factory is a fire trap. A young frog in its early stage. Tadpole. Example. A tadpole turns into a frog. Talking too much. Garrulous. Example. My aunt is very garrulous. A conversation between people. Dialogue. Example. Their dialogue was interesting. An event or happening. Incident. Example. The accident was a tragic incident. A person who loves food. Foodie. Example. She is a true foodie. A person with light-colored hair. Blonde. Example. She has blonde hair. Dishonest or illegal behavior. Corruption. Example. The country is fighting corruption. A large system of stars. Galaxy. Example. The Milky Way is a galaxy. A court where cases are first heard. Trial court. Example. The case is in the trial court. A person learning a skill from an expert. Apprentice. Example. The apprentice learned from the master. Modest and not proud. Humble. Example. He is a humble person. Able to invent or imagine new things. Creative. Example. She is very creative in painting. Full of light or intelligent. Bright. Example. The room is bright. A person who tells a story. Narrator. Example. The movie has a great narrator. Feeling sure of oneself. Confident. Example. He is confident about his exam. Having strong feelings. Emotional. Example. The speech made her emotional. A person who lives alone, avoiding society. Hermit. Example. The old man lived as a hermit. A person who enjoys hurting others. Sadist. Example. The villain was a sadist. Funny or amusing. Comical. Example. He told a comical story. Famous for something bad. Notorious. Example. He is a notorious criminal. Related to customs or old ways. Traditional. Example. They follow traditional customs. A formal discussion on a topic. Debate. Example. They had a debate on politics. To make fun of someone. Mock. Example. Don't mock others. Having no hair on the head. Bald. Example. His father is bald. A person who does office work. Clerk. Example. The clerk gave me the form. A person in charge of work. Boss. Example. My boss is very strict. Feeling doubt or distrust. Suspicious. Example. His behavior was suspicious. Not possible to do. Impossible. Example. Winning the game felt impossible. A group of people living together. Community. Example. He belongs to a small community. Relating to all people. Public. Example. The park is open to the public. A very young baby. Infant. Example. The infant is sleeping. A person who leads a group. Leader. Example. He is a great leader. A police officer. Cop. Example. The cop arrested the thief. A dark shape made by light blockage. Shadow. Example. His shadow followed him. To present something for acceptance. Offer. Example. He offered me tea. To take control of a vehicle forcefully. Hijack. Example. The criminals hijacked the plane. Weighing more than normal. Overweight. Example. He is overweight. To bet money on something uncertain. Gamble. Example. Gambling is risky. Feeling envious of someone. Jealous. Example. She is jealous of her friend's success. Very old or belonging to the past. Ancient. Example. This temple is ancient. A program that protects computers from viruses. Antivirus. Example. Install an antivirus for safety. A person who takes something on loan. Borrower. Example. The borrower must return the book soon. Unable to pay debts. Bankrupt. Example. The company went bankrupt. Related to home or family. Domestic. Example. She does domestic work. Not able to produce anything. Barren. Example. The land is barren. Able to produce crops. Fertile. Example. Farmers need fertile land. Not tamed or controlled. Wild. Example. A lion is a wild animal. A message sent by telegraph. Telegram. Example. He received a telegram from his family. The right to control the use of creative work. Copyright. Example. This book has a copyright. To touch gently. Caress. Example. She caressed the baby's head. A disease that spreads worldwide. Pandemic. Example. COVID-19 was a pandemic. Being correct or precise. Accuracy. Example. His calculations lack accuracy. A person who entertains guests. Host. Example. She was the host of the event. The study of past events. History. Example. He loves history. Activities related to government and power. Politics. Example. He is interested in politics. To achieve or reach something. Attain. Example. She worked hard to attain her goals. To hold someone in custody. Detain. Example. The police detained the suspect for questioning. To hold or include something. Contain. Example. This box will contain all the toys. A person who leads or directs others. Guide. Example. The tour guide showed us around the city. A place where the dead are buried. Cemetery. Example. The cemetery was peaceful and quiet. To supply water to land or crops. Irrigate. Example. They used a pump to irrigate the garden. A person you work with. Colleague. Example. She is my colleague at the office. A person who accompanies someone. Companion. Example. She brought a companion to the event. Relating to a tribe or group of people. Tribal. Example. Tribal groups live in remote areas. Relating to the countryside. Rural. Example. They live in a rural village. Relating to the city. Urban. Example. The urban area is crowded. Related to race or ethnicity. Racial. Example. Racial discrimination is harmful. Strongly tying or connecting something. Binding. Example. The law is binding for everyone. Able to bend without breaking or change easily. Flexible. Example. She has a flexible work schedule. Giving money or items to help others. Donation. Example. He gave a donation for the school. Money demanded for the release of a hostage. Ransom. Example. The kidnappers demanded a ransom. The regular payment made by an employer. Salary. Example. His monthly salary is high. Done by choice or without payment. Voluntary. Example. The work was voluntary and unpaid. A reason for doing something wrong. Excuse. Example. He gave an excuse for being late. An examination of a body after death. Post-mortem. Example. The doctor conducted a post-mortem on the body. Not allowing light to pass through. Opaque. Example. She wore an opaque jacket in the rain. A ruler with absolute power, often taken by force. Dictator. Example. The dictator made harsh decisions. Willing to accept behavior or opinions different from your own. Tolerant. Example. She is very tolerant of different cultures. To bring something into or out of a place illegally. Smuggled. Example. He smuggled goods across the border. To make a fake version of something with the intention to deceive. Forged. Example. The criminal forged the passport. A person who helps guide or direct others, especially during travel. Navigator. Example. He worked as a navigator on the ship. The state of being free from danger. Security. Example. The building has high security. A person who has won a medal in a competition. Medalist. Example. She was awarded as the best medalist. Having no legal force or effect. Null. Example. The contract is null and void. Widely known and regarded as a symbol of something. Iconic. Example. The Eiffel Tower is an iconic landmark. The ability to form new ideas or pictures in the mind. Imagination. Example. Children have a strong imagination. Visual images are designs used in books, websites, or media. Graphics. Example. The game has amazing graphics. Causing public disagreement or debate. Controversial. Example. The new law is controversial. Aware of and responding to one's surroundings. Conscious. Example. She is conscious of her health. A place where books and other materials are kept for reading. Library. Example. I borrowed a book from the library. Not being used. Unused. Example. He sold his unused car. Having existed for a long time. Old. Example. This is an old book. A system of thought that values human beings. Humanism. Example. Humanism focuses on kindness and reason. The human race or kindness toward others. Humanity. Example. We should show humanity to everyone. A person who takes care of plants and gardens. Gardener. Example. The gardener waters the plants daily. A device used to help people breathe, especially for asthma patients. Inhaler. Example. She forgot her inhaler at home. The air surrounding the earth or the mood of a place. Atmosphere. Example. The Earth's atmosphere protects us. A vehicle used for carrying goods. Wagon. Example. The farmer loaded the wagon with hay. A carved or cast figure of a person or animal. Statue. Example. The statue of the king is in the park. A person's natural height or reputation. Stature. Example. He has a tall stature. A person who makes or sells glasses. Optician. Example. The optician checked my vision. Long-lasting or persistent, usually about diseases. Chronic. Example. He suffers from chronic pain. A person who looks after something. Keeper. Example. The zookeeper feeds the animals. Items of food sold in stores. Grocery. Example. She went to the grocery shop. The beginning of an idea or pregnancy. Conception. Example. His conception of the plan was unique. Having a thin edge or pointed tip. Sharp. Example. He has a sharp memory. A disagreement or argument. Dispute. Example. They had a dispute over land. A discussion in which people express different opinions. Argument. Example. She presented a strong argument in court. Decorative objects, especially jewelry. Ornaments. Example. She wore gold ornaments. A man who enjoys a luxurious and carefree lifestyle. Playboy. Example. He is known as a playboy in the city. People chosen to represent others. Delegates. Example. The delegates attended the international meeting. A person who is blamed for something wrong. Scapegoat. Example. He was made a scapegoat for the failure. Basic or essential. Elemental. Example. Water is an elemental part of life. A place where ships are built or repaired. Dockyard. Example. The ship is at the dockyard for repairs. A place for parking or repairing vehicles. Garage. Example. My car is in the garage. A person who is learning something. Learner. Example. He is a learner driver. A person with great intelligence or creativity. Genius. Example. Einstein was a genius. A person who owns or manages a shop. Shopkeeper. Example. The shopkeeper sells fresh vegetables. A person who sells goods. Vendor. Example. The street vendor sells fruit. A person who sells fruits and vegetables. Greengrocer. Example. The greengrocer has fresh apples. A person who sells meat. Butcher. Example. The butcher sells fresh chicken. Too powerful to be defeated. Invincible. Example. The army seemed invincible. A place where ships load and unload goods. Port. Example. The ship arrived at the port. A sheltered area for ships. Harbor. Example. Many boats are in the harbor. A landing place for helicopters. Helipad. Example. The hospital has a helipad. The sport of shooting arrows with a bow. Archery. Example. He won a gold medal in archery. A tall, strong woman. Amazon. Example. The warrior was an Amazon of her time. A game or problem that tests intelligence. Puzzle. Example. I enjoy solving puzzles. A road or way around a city or obstacle. Bypass. Example. We took the bypass to avoid traffic. A person who commits a crime. Criminal. Example. The criminal was arrested. A written or printed record. Document. Example. He signed the document. A contract to rent property. Lease. Example. The lease expires next month. A bill for goods or services. Invoice. Example. Please check the invoice before paying. Connected with religion or faith. Religious. Example. He is a religious person. Difficult to understand. Confusing. Example. The instructions were confusing. The speed at which something moves. Pace. Example. He walked at a slow pace. The speed of something in a direction. Velocity. Example. The car's velocity was high. A small room where food is stored. Pantry. Example. The pantry is full of snacks. The act of breaking into a place to steal. Burglary. Example. He was caught for burglary. A plan for activities at certain times. Schedule. Example. My schedule is very busy today. A list of things to be done or discussed. Agenda. Example. The meeting agenda was shared. A set of actions for a goal. Plan. Example. I have a plan for the future. Not related to religion. Secular. Example. He has a secular mindset. An extreme fear of something. Phobia. Example. He has a phobia of heights. A mutual agreement where both sides adjust. Compromise. Example. They reached a compromise on the deal. A set of official rules. Protocol. Example. The meeting had a strict protocol. Unfair treatment based on differences. Discrimination. Example. Discrimination in the workplace is illegal. An economic system where businesses are privately owned. Capitalism. Example. Capitalism promotes free markets. A group of people living together. Community. Example. Our community is very helpful. A mythical creature that drinks blood. Vampire. Example. The movie was about a vampire. To jump into water headfirst. Dive. Example. He loves to dive in the pool. The hot mist from boiling water. Steam. Example. The steam burned his hand. To cook food in an oven. Bake. Example. She will bake a cake. A person who helps others financially. Benefactor. Example. A benefactor donated a huge amount. A wealthy and powerful businessman. Tycoon. Example. He is a real estate tycoon. A person who loves their country. Patriot. Example. He is a true patriot. A tendency to do something. Inclination. Example. He has an inclination for music. A very small piece of something. Particle. Example. A particle of dust entered my eye. The unit of pronunciation in a word. Syllable. Example. Water has 2 syllables. A written message or a character in the alphabet. Letter. Example. She wrote a letter to her friend. A teenager or young person. Adolescent. Example. He is an adolescent boy. An alcoholic drink. Liquor. Example. He does not drink liquor. Protection against financial loss. Insurance. Example. He bought health insurance. To mix something by moving a spoon. Stir. Example. She stirred her coffee. A major change or uprising. Revolution. Example. The French Revolution changed history. A person who sells goods. Merchant. Example. He is a famous merchant. Having supernatural powers. Magical. Example. The view was magical. Existing in nature. Natural. Example. The river is a natural resource. Not normal or natural. Unnatural. Example. His reaction was unnatural. A beginner, not a professional. Amateur. Example. Amateurs need more practice. A person who works. Worker. Example. He is a factory worker. A person forced to work without freedom. Slave. Example. The slave had no rights. A person employed to help in a household. Servant. Example. The servant cleaned the room. A person who owns something. Owner. Example. The owner welcomed guests. A group of soldiers. Troop. Example. The troops marched forward. A feeling of deep satisfaction. Pride. Example. He takes pride in his work. A journey in an aircraft. Flight. Example. My flight is delayed. Happening every 2 years. Biennial. Example. This event is biennial. A show of respect or admiration. Tribute. Example. They paid tribute to the leader. Feeling uninterested or tired of something. Bored. Example. He felt bored during the lecture. Having high moral qualities. Noble. Example. He belongs to a noble family. Stylish, clever, or useful. Nifty. Example. He bought a nifty gadget. A tool or machine for a purpose. Device. Example. My phone is a useful device. Graceful and stylish. Elegant. Example. She wore an elegant dress. To a great extent or degree. Quite. Example. The exam was quite difficult. Pleasing to look at. Attractive. Example. She has an attractive smile. Someone who talks a lot. Talkative. Example. He is very talkative. Not memorable. Forgettable. Example. The movie was forgettable. Giving pleasure or happiness. Enjoyable. Example. The trip was enjoyable. A schedule of events. Timetable. Example. The school timetable is fixed. A long poem or grand story. Epic. Example. The movie was an epic adventure. A feeling of comfort after stress. Relief. Example. I felt relief after the exam. A being that will die. Mortal. Example. Humans are mortal. Having the qualities of youth. Youthful. Example. His energy is youthful. Hard to believe. Unbelievable. Example. His talent is unbelievable. Impossible to defeat. Unbeatable. Example. Their team is unbeatable. Believable or trustworthy. Credible. Example. His story is credible. Proof of qualifications. Credential. Example. He showed his credentials. The state of being married. Matrimony. Example. They entered into matrimony. A payment for professional services. Honorarium. Example. The guest speaker received an honorarium. A short or informal name. Nickname. Example. His nickname is Tom. A strong need for food. Hunger. Example. He was weak from hunger. The state of being very poor. Poverty. Example. Many people live in poverty. Extreme scarcity of food. Famine. Example. Famine led to many deaths. A difficulty or challenge. Problem. Example. The math problem was tough. A sudden event causing great harm. Disaster. Example. The flood was a major disaster. Physical or emotional suffering. Pain. Example. He felt pain in his leg. A feeling of relaxation after stress. Relief. Example. He felt relief after passing the exam. With strong determination to succeed. Ambitiously. Example. She worked ambitiously. A required official procedure. Formality. Example. The signing was just a formality. People who move from place to place. Nomads. Example. Nomads travel in search of food. A pleasant smell. Aroma. Example. The aroma of coffee filled the room. The date on which an event happened in a previous year. Anniversary. Example. Today is their wedding anniversary. The day when someone was born. Birthday. Example. My birthday is in July. A person who flies an aircraft. Pilot. Example. He is a pilot. A group of people working. Crew. Example. The ship's crew is very experienced. A picture or visual representation of something. Image. Example. He clicked a beautiful image. The return of light, sound, or heat from a surface. Reflection. Example. I saw my reflection in the mirror. A dark shape that appears when light is blocked. Shadow. Example. His shadow looked huge. Products used for beauty or makeup. Cosmetics. Example. She bought new cosmetics. The practice of having more than one spouse. Polygamy. Example. He believes in polygamy. Substance used to treat illness. Medicine. Example. He took medicine for his fever. A drug that affects the mind. Narcotic. Example. Narcotics are harmful to health. The time between noon and evening. Afternoon. Example. She takes a nap in the afternoon. Perfect happiness. Bliss. Example. She felt pure bliss on vacation. A quick look. Glimpse. Example. I took a glimpse at the report. Bright and clear. Vivid. Example. The painting has vivid colors. A soft, quiet sound. Murmur. Example. She heard a murmur in the hallway. Calm and peaceful. Placid. Example. His voice was placid and soothing. Lacking energy. Lethargic. Example. He felt lethargic after lunch. Dark and sad. Gloomy. Example. The sky looked gloomy before the rain. Stiff and unbending. Rigid. Example. The rules were too rigid. Awkward in movement. Clumsy. Example. He is clumsy while carrying things. Easily broken. Fragile. Example. The glass is very fragile. Boring and repetitive. Tedious. Example. The lecture was tedious. Excited and willing. Eager. Example. He was eager to start the job. Empty or unoccupied. Vacant. Example. The seat was vacant. Clever in a dishonest way. Cunning. Example. The cunning thief escaped. Modest and not arrogant. Humble. Example. She gave a humble apology. Great danger. Peril. Example. The climbers were in peril. A loud, high-pitched cry. Shriek. Example. She let out a shriek of joy. A grassy field. Meadow. Example. The cows grazed in the meadow. Charming and old-fashioned. Quaint. Example. The village has a quaint look. To fly or rise high. Soar. Example. His confidence began to soar. Physically weak. Frail. Example. The bridge looked frail. Very fast. Rapid. Example. The river has a rapid flow. Honest and truthful. Sincere. Example. His apology was sincere. Calm and quiet. Tranquil. Example. The beach was tranquil in the morning. More than enough. Ample. Example. There is ample space for everyone. Very tired. Weary. Example. She felt weary after the trip. Hard to find. Scarce. Example. Water is scarce in deserts. Cheerful and happy. Jolly. Example. He is always jolly. To grow and develop well. Thrive. Example. The plants thrive in sunlight. A long, steady look. Gaze. Example. He gazed at the stars. The highest point. Summit. Example. They reached the summit of the mountain. To send away forever. Banish. Example. The king banished the criminal. To wrinkle the forehead in displeasure. Frown. Example. She frowned at the bad news. A person who saves money greedily. Miser. Example. The miser refused to spend money. Rich in greenery. Lush. Example. The forest was lush. A small, bright light. Gleam. Example. A gleam of hope shone in her eyes. Done quickly without thinking. Hasty. Example. He made a hasty decision. To talk continuously. Chatter. Example. The kids chattered happily. To speak very softly. Whisper. Example. She whispered a secret. To strongly desire. Crave. Example. He craves chocolate. Shy and lacking confidence. Timid. Example. She is too timid to ask for help. To move around aimlessly. Wander. Example. He wandered through the park. To confuse completely. Bewilder. Example. His answer bewildered me. A feeling of great fear. Dread. Example. He dreads speaking in public. To flow out quickly and in large amounts. Gush. Example. Water gushed from the pipe. To long for something. Yearn. Example. He yearns for success. Without thinking of consequences. Reckless. Example. She made a reckless decision. Neat and organized. Tidy. Example. Her room is always tidy. Impressive or decorative. Fancy. Example. She wore a fancy dress. The ability to remember. Memory. Example. She has a sharp memory. Wishing success. Good luck. Example. Good luck with your exam. A possibility of something happening. Chance. Example. He got a chance to perform. A person who drives a vehicle. Driver. Example. The driver stopped the car. A person traveling in a vehicle. Passenger. Example. The bus had many passengers. A person who collects fares on a bus or train. Conductor. Example. The conductor issued tickets. A person who operates a machine. Operator. Example. She is a telephone operator. Feeling sorry for someone. Sympathy. Example. He showed sympathy to the poor. A feeling of sadness for someone. Pity. Example. Don't look at me with pity. Animals that give birth to live young. Mammals. Example. Whales are mammals. Living or occurring at the same time. Contemporary. Example. He is a contemporary artist.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.